Okay, coming back home feels good. Like getting back in the stadium and getting our guys back on track. Um, we've watched the Commanders here during this early part of the season have a really close opportunity for them to be on the other end of this thing with the games they played against Philadelphia. They played 2 great games against Philadelphia and scored a ton of points and had a chance to win both those games. And that would have made a little difference in the NFL world. So we have a lot of respect for them. We're seeing a quarterback, the young guy. Sam Howell is a young guy, but he's tough. They're leaning on him. They're giving him an opportunity to control the game. And it's impressive the job that he's been doing, and you can tell that Eric is really believes in him by the way he's calling it, and so we feel that confidence that he's exuding, and realize we got to do a great job against this offense. On the other side of the ball, they've been tough. They're really good up inside, and we got our hands full there. So it's going to be a terrific matchup for us, and we got to get our act together. So we're on it.
What kind of quarterback is Howell? What does he do well?
He moves a lot. You know, they move him out of the pocket, and so he can do all of that stuff. He's not a runner, but he scrambles. He's got 150-something yards in average and something. He's got a 5-yard average when he runs, but that's not the feature part of it. He is in the mold of what Kansas City looks like. You know, they're using their quarterback in the same way. Everybody's familiar with seeing that, and they're counting on Sam to do his stuff, and so it's drop back guy, good rhythm. He's strong, physical, and he can throw the ball over the field. So the main thing you can see with a young guy, the confidence that they have in him and how they're calling their stuff. It's impressive.
The playmakers that he's throwing to, I mean, that's one of the reasons why he's got the most yards in the NFC, I think, is for the quarterback.
Yeah, he's got a great group. Terry McLaurin is terrific. Logan is a premier-looking tight end. He's gone to those guys, and they have a lot of speed with the other guys that they go to. Both running backs that they feature, Robinson and Gibson, are both really well equipped. They run hard and run thick, so they have a good complement to what they're doing there. But they're really going for it in the throwing game. They've thrown the ball 100 times more than we have already. You know, so they're really trying.
Wednesday, but so far, how have you seen your team just kind of bounce back from?
They're going to bounce back fine. We've dealt with all that, and just looking at what it was like out there at walkthrough today, these guys are ready to go.
When you have had games like that in your career, what is the biggest point you kind of look at for teams that do successfully have a bounce back from a game like that?
Yeah, it's really the leadership's attitude. You know, the guys that you're really counting on to send the message, because the younger guys are watching those guys, and how do they respond, and how hard do they push, and are they focused, and can they turn the page? The younger guys are, you know, we have a very young team, and we count a lot on our leadership to send the right message. And with Gino and Bobby and those guys that Diggsy and those guys that do that for us, it's incumbent upon them to really live it right. So they've come out of the chutes looking good. Meetings were good today. Everything about it was uplifting. So there's so much football ahead of us. This is officially marking the halfway point, right? Once we get past this game, somewhere in the middle of the week here, it's really the halfway point. But we're officially turning the corner here. You know, game 9 for us, and week 10. So this is a huge opportunity for us to recapture the mentality, make sure that we're on, and we play a great game at home.
When you look at your defense as a whole, kind of, as you mentioned, kind of the halfway point, when you know, kind of from weeks 1 to week 8, where do you feel like you guys are right now?
Well, we didn't play very well in this last game, but we've been playing really well until that, and so we got to get back on track and see. You know, I'll let you know after this game this weekend. I'm not going to judge anything on what just happened. We're going to put that behind us and go. Just like always, you know, you can have a really good game, you can have a really bad game, and it's how you get back on track is what's important. And we've been working the discipline of that for a long time. We'll see how we handle it.
Now that he's been in 2 different spots, what are some of the characteristics of an Eric Bieniemy offense?
What's about the 2 different spots?
Well, he's been a coordinator in Kansas City,
Okay,
a coordinator here in Washington.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. Yeah, they're leaning on a lot of the same principles in the wide open attack, spreading the field really well, using their formations. They've got, you know, with having Logan, they've got a tight end that they can feature, and he's involved with a lot of cool stuff that they do. So there's a lot of similarities, and he's calling it wide open. You know, he's going for it.
19 when you win the turnover battle, 3-0 this season. You have a full day devoted to turnover Thursday. it's all about the ball. How do you emphasize that any more than you already have, given some of the mistakes that have come out?
That's a really good question, because I'm always taxed with that. How can we emphasize it better? I'm doing this for 20-something years of emphasizing turnover Thursday, and making sure that we're on it, which probably the most important part of that is taking care of the ball, and not giving it away, to control those that emphasis. But I'm looking, I'm always looking and trying to draw different aspects of it, and examples and our presentations that we give, and the focus that we bring to it, the competition that we have in it. We all the way up to the end of Thursday till the last play. We're battling to see who wins the day in terms of the ball. So, but I'm always searching. So, and that search won't end.
That you guys have had on offense, how much of those are like bad decisions by Geno versus other factors around him that he couldn't control?
There's been factors, yeah. There's been factors, and me. I'm not one trying to nail anybody on stuff. There's been factors that contribute, and some. It just depends, on the situations. We misread something and didn't really see it clearly, because we got fooled by their disguise, and then we didn't respond well when we communicated. So we had a lousy play that turned into a turnover for them. Kind of a number of things had to contribute to make that happen. But that's just how it is, and we just have to keep track of it. And there are other circumstances that weigh into these things. It's not just one guy.
How is DJ Dallas?
Well, he was supposedly hurt, but he was bouncing around out there today, and his attitude is so committed to not missing anything. I don't know. He was out there catching punts and all that kind of stuff, and running around, and he's going to try to get back. So, pretty impressive kid. He's like exactly what you're looking for in guys that overcome the mishaps and the difficulties and what would hold other guys back sometimes. He's going to try to fight through it.
We heard a lot at the beginning of the year about how impressive it was that Jordyn Brooks had come back so quickly from surgery, but I guess halfway through the season, what have you thought about his play, and what kind of influences he and Bobby had just on the young guys in this defense?
Jordyn has played the best football he's played for us, and he's always been a highlight player. He's always got the big plays and the running and the hitting. He can do everything. He's got all of the skills in the package to do everything. But he's been his best, and he's been most consistent, on point, understands the scheme. Communications are the best it's been, between he and Bobby in particular, and working with Diggsy and Jamal and Julian on the back end, so that everything fits really well. But it's been very impressive so far, and we're highlighting him as we can, with the different things that he's capable of doing, and so he's been really cool watching him play.
Pete, is there a common denominator of making a quarterback uncomfortable? Does it matter whether it's a young guy or an old guy?
Yeah, it does. The older guys have seen more, and so that they just have more in their background and more, in the reserve tank of they've seen this, they've seen that, they can tell, they can feel it differently, so they have a real advantage over the younger guys. But, guys are schooled so well nowadays, and they're brought up throwing the ball so much as they've been growing up that they're way ahead of where it used to be, and these guys are able to and capable of handling, tough situations, tough disguises, and then tough zero pressures and disguise pressures and all of that, to a point where they can make it, and Sam's a good example of that. He's doing really well. They're not holding back. They're not trying to, make it easy on them. They're running their offense the way they want to run it and going for it the way they want to go for it, and he's handling it really well. It's really impressive. He's doing a very good job. So I think, it's easier to fool a young guy than it is to fool an older guy, for sure.
Pressure then the key in both of that, getting pressure to the
It's always the key, yeah. It's always the key, making it hard on the quarterback, and whether it's four-man or not, if you pressing with guys off the edge or the backers or however, it's always the key to make them have to quicken, make them a bit uncomfortable, make it a little blurrier, and so that they don't have just the normal rhythm that they're so good at. These guys nowadays can throw the ball all over the field if you don't get after it, and you don't make it hard on them. And you can make it hard by disguising, by coverage, by pressure, and the combination of all of that stuff. So, it ain't easy. It's hard.
In the run game, there's been a lot of factors that have, I think, kept those numbers down. It's not for lack of effort from the running backs, but do they need extra encouragement? Is there a conversation? Is it more about getting them involved in maybe the passing game to keep them in the game in a different way?
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing conversation to make sure that they're abreast of what's happening, so that they're clear on how things went, and whether we had to go to them a lot or whether we couldn't. Sometimes it's the rotations, and just the way plays come off the caller's card. Sometimes they get their chances more so than others. But so it's an ongoing conversation. I like our guys to be hungry for it. I like our guys to be frustrated by the fact they want more opportunities. I have no problem with that. But they have to manage it, and so we have to be in communication and do a nice job, so it doesn't hurt us and get in our way, because it can definitely become a distraction if you don't deal with it right.
Lucas in the walkthrough too?
No.
What's Jarek?
We think next week he should start up on Monday is what we're trying. That's what we're shooting for.
What's Jarek Reed brought you guys in special teams this year?
What's he got?
Jarek, what's he bringing in special teams?
He's doing. Yeah, he's been a big factor. He's up in the. We keep score of those guys throughout the year. He's competing to be right on top of the list of stuff, and Ballora doesn't like it, which is good. He's been really committed, and he runs really well, and he's tough, and he goes for it. So he's been a factor. There's a certain nature about the special teams guys that separates them. He looks at an early, observation of him that he's a real factor in what we're doing, and so. At the halfway point, we want to really push it and even ask more of him, because he shows that he's got an instinct for it and a really good motor for it. So he's doing a really nice job.
How do you assess Reek Woolen's season so far?
He's had a solid start to it under the most difficult circumstances because of the injury that happened at the time that it did. But he's back to running really well, and he's moving well. He's had some plays get away from him that frustrating to see. He made not the right decisions on some of the tackles that he's had opportunities to go for. He tried to knock a ball out last week, and it wasn't the right time for that. But I think, without question, his best is still here for him in this season, and I think getting him comfortable and getting him back on track so there's none of those decisions show up in the game. Where there's he misses an opportunity to close something off or to make a play on something. So I'm working with him very closely to make sure that we keep working to maximize him. He's got a lot out there ahead of him still.
Given how young he still is at cornerback, he's only played it for a couple seasons in college. Did that missed time maybe hurt him more than it would other players?
No question it did. And because he had the expectations that came off of last year, and he was ready for take on the world, and then he just gets abruptly stopped, and he's out for a while, gets operated on, all that he needed that time to find his second year mentality, legs, and all that kind of stuff, and he wasn't able to, wasn't afforded that. So we're still in the mode kind of getting back on track to be really sharp and really right on all of his decisions that he's making and the choices that he makes. And so there's really good play ahead of him, I think, even better than what we've seen.
How did Phil Haynes make it through the game with the calf injury? And
he did fine.
How's he doing? How did you think of his?
He played a good, solid game. He was fine. He made it through. It's the first time in 3 weeks or something like that he's felt okay. So he comes back in this week, and he's going ahead now. We're leaving it behind. So it's a good sign.
With Geno, his splits, like with play action versus non-play action this season, have been pretty stark. What do you make of how much more productive he's been with play action as opposed to pure drop back situations?
Really like it. We like to make sure that we make it hard on our opponent by continuing to do it. We've been really good at it. Numbers are terrific, and so it's a real positive side of the offense right now.
There's obviously a reason why you don't just do it every time. What are you sacrificing when you have the play fake?
Just the variety of protections that you use and the different actions, aren't always as predictable for picking stuff up, and so you have to pick and choose your times, and we need to keep them in a run pass mode, whether it's they're being threatened by the play action game or the running game, and it fits together and fits off each other. So we have to keep that alive as much as anything.
How is Derek Hall?
He seems to be okay. Our guys really seem to be bouncing back. Which is the question was asked earlier, how are we doing? Most everybody was working in the walkthrough, and there's a couple guys that have a chance to maybe we hold them back today. They don't want to do that. They want to go. So there's a really good sense that he's one of those guys. I think we'll see. I guess see what happens during the day here.
How about Anthony Bradford with him sitting last
yeah, he's feeling way better. Yeah, and he had a little treatment that was done that he thinks was really positive. So he's got a good hopeful thought for this week.
Are you expecting Kenny McIntosh to play on Sunday?
Possibly. That possibly could happen. He's getting a lot of reps because of DJ being, a little in question. We got to figure out what he is. Kenny got a lot of work in the walkthrough today, so he'll get revved up, and we'll have him ready to play.
And everything?
Yes.
You guys started the clock on Derek. What do you think he could add once he gets back?
Well, first off, because it's taken a while for us to get to that point where we start him up, he's in great shape, and he's really ready to go. He could play this week. So that's an interesting addition because he was a real positive factor in special teams in particular last year and in the way we played him. So he's coming out the first week competing to see if he can find his way to the roster in play time. So that's a really positive something.
Would you be in favor of the NFL reviewing every call, every timing decision in the last 2 minutes of a game?
In the last 2 minutes of the game, as long as we're subject to the replay mode, I think they should get things right. Yeah. Now, I would have told you for years and years and years, I would rather put it on the officials to call the game. Let's keep the game going. I like it better when it was like that, but now that I've grown up, and not been kicking, screaming about it, I think we should use it. And I think they're trying to help as much as they can, more than ever. And I think they just keep expanding their effect because if we need to get it right, we need to do things right and not have to live with issues and stuff that we could have after the game. You're griping and moaning and all that. So if they think that they could do it, if they could handle it, and have enough crew to handle all the games and really and see it, I mean I think that's a big statement for them to be able to do every play. But I think it'd be in the best interest of getting things right, and that's really what we'd like to do.
So you'd want to expand technology for line to gain, for everything you could possibly do?
Yep, I'd go with that. And now that we're that far into it, let's go.
Why do you think you guys haven't found the consistency maybe you were looking for in your run game?
What about it?
Yeah, why do you think it hasn't been as consistent as maybe you would have hoped?
Yeah, if I knew that, we'd be consistent. Yeah, we're still seeking it. It's halfway, and we have a lot of time to get better. I'm still counting on that and holding an optimistic thought. It's important for us because we have the guys to get it done. We need to pull it off and make it happen, come to life, and it'll affect our entire football team if we do.
That is just getting more turns, getting more.
It's converting on third down is really what we need to do better, and that will give us the opportunities to make the calls. We have the right rhythms of how much we're running it. That's not the question. We need more first downs, and that means converting is really the big factor. Unfortunately, it's kind of the same story that it's always been. You good?